September 9th. First order of business, we have the minutes from August 12th, 2022. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We have 3 determinations today, and the files are available at Village Hall for reviewing. The first application, and the application of 72 Lily Pond Lane LLC, 72 Lily Pond Lane, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-13-8-9, to relocate and enlarge a pre-existing accessory building and convert it to an accessory dwelling unit is approved. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Pam, please poll the board.
Mr. McGurk,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell,
Yes.
Mr. Rose.
Yes.
In the application of Richard Welsher, 105 Buell Lane, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-8-2-5.1, to construct a chimney is approved. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Pam, can you please poll the board?
Mr. McGurk,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell,
Yes.
Mr. Rose.
Yes.
And the last determination of the day, in the application of Sheila and Taylor Smith, 36 Maidstone Avenue, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-2-16-13, to maintain a chimney,
Yes, to maintain it because it's already there.
got it, is approved. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Pam, may you poll the board?
Mr. McGurk,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell,
Yes.
Mr. Rose.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, moving along on the agenda, we have a request for an adjournment for David Henry and Courtney Furnell, 17 Stratton Square, to October 14th, 2022. I don't need a motion or anything on that, do I, Pam?
Lisa,
You got to unmute yourself.
I just did. I'm sorry. You don't, but it doesn't hurt to take one anyway if you want to.
Okay, so so can I get a motion to move this to October 14th, 2022?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. We have a request to reopen a hearing, but it's going to be postponed until October 14th, 2022 on Lisa and Gary Seth. Do I have a motion?
To
Make
postpone?
a motion.
Yes.
Yeah, postponement.
Second?
Well, I just have a question. They have requested, why do we have to vote on their request, on their
Lisa.
withdrawal of their request?
I'm going to refer to Lisa,
They're requesting to reopen the hearing.
but they want to reopen it on October 14th.
They want to reopen it and then they want it scheduled for October 14th.
So we're just making a motion on scheduling it for October 14th.
That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing.
Right.
So I make a
can
motion.
Okay, we have a second? I can second it. All in favor?
Yes.
Or do we?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Okay. We have the continued hearing for Red Trust, 99 Main Street. And I see Tom Vantini's here for Red Trust. Morning, Tom.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Let me swear you in. Please raise your right hand and state your name and address for the record.
Move the camera. Hi, Thomas Fantini. Address is 111 Montauk Highway, Amagansett.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
And Tom, can I just add for the record, we did get a letter in from Michael T. Bivon on August 18th in favor. He has no problem with the pickleball court. So just want to add that to the record.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, so obviously we did meet with the contractor. The pickleball contractor talked about sinking the pickleball court 4 feet as was discussed. There's a couple things, one of which is the owner's concern is that the safety with regard to running into a retaining wall. As you know, as you go off the playing court dimensions. So he has sort of a concern about that. It obviously adds a pretty significant expense. It almost doubles the cost of a court. And at the end of the day, the thought is didn't necessarily know what advantage sinking a court 4 feet might have, being that, the strike of the ball is 4.5 feet, sort of at chest and waist level. So with sort of those things considered, if he did have to sink it, then he would extend, obviously, we'd have to extend the off-playing dimensions. And then the idea is to move it out of that position. We think it's nicely nestled where it is, obviously with the Herrick Playground and long-term parking. And then he probably then shift it more, I'll say, towards the other side of the property. And that might create other issues with other neighbors. So, all in all, we think it's nestled in a nice spot. We think it meets, current playing court dimensions. If there weren't a primary residence, if there were a primary residence there, then obviously, I think according to the current building code, we'd be able to install it.
Okay.
So that's.
Thanks, Tom. Is there anybody on the line who?
There are no callers.
Okay. Board members, anybody have any issues with this at this point? Philip?
Well, I would just like to say that, my concerns were addressed when the neighbor supported it. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Mr. Rose?
Questions, no comments.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. So a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. So we have hearings now, the new hearings, and Ms. Bennett, would you please read the first one?
For the pending application of Hampton's Residence LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-131111, seeks additional variances from Chapter 101, Coastal Erosion Hazard Areas, and Chapter 124, Preservation of Dunes, to legalize an accessory structure and lighting. A coastal erosion hazard area permit and variances are required in accordance with Sections 1019B and 10119 to legalize a bin and lighting installed seaward of the coastal erosion hazard area line. Variances of approximately 56 feet and 97 feet are requested from Sections 124, 1A1 and 2 to legalize a bin and lighting fixtures located approximately 44 feet from the 15-foot contour and 53 feet from the edge of beach, where the required setbacks are 100 feet and 150 feet, and any other relief necessary. The subject property is 116,464 square feet in area and is located at 16 Nichols Lane in Residence District R160. The property adjoins the ocean beach and is located in FEMA flood zone BE, elevation 17, and zone X. This project is classified as a type 2 action in accordance with SECRA.
Morning, Mr. Bregman.
Morning.
Go ahead, and you want
Oh, sure. Okay.
to? Great, thank you.
Let me try to share my screen, which I had trouble with yesterday.
Hold on.
Okay. Should I go forward?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. The right thing here. There we go. Okay. Can you guys see this now?
Yes, we can, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I wanted to go over briefly what this is about. You've heard it and seen it before, so I'll be very quick. First of all, the dune is extremely stable. It's been there for 100 years. You have the Woods Hole report on the dune in front of this house. Was done the last time it was done. It's brought up to date by Dr. Bokanyevich's letter, where he particularly states that the that the gazebo is not destabilizing the dune and will not in any way. And that's also established by the fact that it's been there for 16 years. I also wanted to mention that it adds a structure in the coastal erosion area, a total of 0.75%, 0.74%. So it's very small addition. And you can see those numbers there at the bottom of the SASCA survey, which has been submitted. The other point that I wanted to show is that it's very consistent with the neighbors. And I have two aerials to show you. My cursor is now on where the gazebo is. You can see it's no further seaward than the house next door, then the swimming pool to the east, then the swimming pool further to the east. And there's one more aerial that shows it longer. So it's consistent with this swimming pool over here, with this house here, with this house here, and there's another house back there behind the pictures of people, and also going to the west is also consistent with this house, with this swimming pool, etc. So it is very typical of the neighborhood. Also, there has been no opposition whatsoever to this gazebo from any neighbors or anyone else. There is a letter from the Halpern, who are the neighbor to the west, and they are concerned about the quote-unquote sitting area or the perch on the lawn that I want to get into in a second, but they have no problem, or at least no comment, about the gazebo. Now, this is the area that the village planner, Billy Hagee, recommended that if you grant these easements, you require as remediation or mitigation, that it be revegetated from these grasses that you see there. In this area and here, but these are already bayberry and beech plum, and they would stay. And this fits into the Halpern's concern. The applicant has agreed completely, 100% with that recommendation. We developed a plan, a revegetation plan. This is by Vertebra Nurseries. These are the folks who have been the icons and landscapers for a great many years. So you can see this is the area of concern in the Palmer cursor. It would be, as noted on the plan, a bayberry, beech plum, and over in this area next to the walkway would be beachgrass and bayberry and beech plum. So that would be exact. And this plan, by the way, was reviewed by the village planner, and he approved it, and he authorized me to say that.
And just for the record, Mr. Hajek is not here today, so just want to put that out. He's on vacation.
Yes, but I specifically asked him if it was all right to say that it was approved when I wrote that letter of August 9, which he saw as well, where I mentioned that it was approved. So,
thank you.
Okay. The concern that the Halperns have is this area here has been used for basically sitting out and watching the ocean while making telephone calls and communicating with the rest of the world. And this plan, I think, satisfies or responds to that concern, because this would all be bayberry, beachgrass, and beech plum. It would essentially not be usable, even if wanted to sneak in there. It wouldn't be usable for that purpose. So that if there's any lawn chairs and chairs on the in this area, they'd be on the existing lawn, which is pre-existing, and be in this area. So I think that satisfies, or I hope it does, I think it does, satisfies their concerns. Now, there is one other item there. If you look carefully, if I can get my cursor there, that it says bin. That bin is actually, it's raised off the ground. It's a green bin. It contains electric and telephone lines. And it was used in the past, for the telephones that Mr. Icahn would use while he was conducting business and personal business in the inappropriate area. He would be, or he intends to, or would like to, put his lawn chair, and which is what you saw in the picture from Mr. Halpern, and lounge in the existing area, and leaving the bin there would allow him to continue that telephone connection. I don't see, and I respectfully submit, there isn't any downside to that. And there isn't any downside or inappropriateness of his, sitting out in this existing lawn area. Okay, so there, as I said, there wouldn't be any deck area or perch there at all. Now, the other item that is open is the fence that you see. Having trouble with my, there we go. The fence that is along here. This is a snow fence, a typical snow fence. I have a picture of it. I hope this comes up the right picture. Yeah, there it is. You can see it. It is halfway up the dune. It acts as, and it's there for the purpose of being a deer fence. And you can see as it's halfway up the dune, even though it's only 4 to 5 feet high, it is, the deer can't jump over it because they're jumping uphill anyway. And it's been effective. Again, there's no downside. It's been there for a while. It is consistent with snow fences along the area. And has not engendered any complaints or concerns by any neighbors, including the Halpins. The only neighbor who can see it and can see the gazebo is Mrs. Ford, who's up there in this corner, and she has written in favor of this application. And the last item is, excuse me, that's my phone. I'll turn it off. Hold on a second. It is security lights. There are 3 of them hidden in this area in front of the house, which has along the top of the dune, which has bayberry and beach plum. And this is the area that will be revegetated with more of bayberry and beach plum. And there's one of the, that's just a picture of what it is. They are for security purposes only. They're triggered by motion sensors. They have never been used to light up the beach, which I know is a concern for the village. You don't want people doing that. But again, that's never happened. There's never been a complaint about that because, among other things, that hasn't happened. There's no reason for a complaint. And it's a major benefit to the Icahns who have some security concerns, and there's really no downside. As far as they know, they don't know that it's actually been tripped for security reasons, which I know cuts both ways. You know, if you haven't needed it, then you don't need it. But being there is a substantial security measure, and it has been handled very cooperatively and without any, with an understanding that this is only for security and not for lighting up the beach. Any questions?
Board members?
Why is a question regarding the security lighting? Why do they need to be there? Why can't they be further back on the property? I understood the purpose is for a security notification. Why do they have to be in a protected area?
Well, like most of the houses along the strip, everything is in the protected area. The coastal erosion line runs north of the house. Here, you can see it on the survey if you want to show. So it's all a protected area. They could certainly be moved back into where it's going to be revegetated as part of the revegetation. But they are, excuse me, I can't turn that off. So, and putting them back in the lawn area back here is still a protected area. And it really wouldn't do any good. I mean, the idea is if somebody's coming up and sneaking over the dune. If that's what the board wants to do, you know, the icons will coordinate with that, but it really, this has never been an issue. It was there, it became an issue in this hearing because one of the investigators, as I was looking generally, said, what about these lights? So there they are. They've been there for decades. And you can't see them actually from the beach. I was out yesterday to look at that. You can see this one from the beach, from the bottom of the walkway. Other two you can't even see. So they could be moved, but that decreases their usefulness, and I'm not sure what the upside of moving it is. But they can be if you find that appropriate.
I mean, I think Mr. Rose would like to see if they could be moved.
I think it should, again, as you say, they've been there for decades. They have never been triggered as far as I understood you to say.
That's my understanding from the icons, yes.
And to pull them back out of the naturally vegetated area to the beginning of the lawn, at the start of the beginning of the lawn area would seem to be appropriate. This would be my suggestion, but.
Well, may I, if I may, putting them back, the beginning of the revegetated area is back here, if you can see where my cursor is. They would have to be substantially taller back there because this is flat or actually comes up a little bit, and certainly with the bayberry and the beach plum that's going to be put in here, they'd have to be tall enough to be over it. So it'd be more imposing. But again,
I just will express, I mean, this is not so much a question. I hear what you're saying. The proliferation of extensive and visual security devices in the protected area, which happens not just on this property, but in others. Understand people have a concern for the security, but they've got to figure out ways to address whatever security concerns they may have within the context of the regulatory environment that we have. Unless there's a compelling reason to do otherwise, I don't see a compelling reason to do otherwise here. It's just my expression of my concern.
So I understand, and I understand it's concern that's broader than this particular property, and that there have been instances where there has been lighting up the beach and stuff, even though that's not here. So your thought is to move them back right here along this line that separates the lawn from the revegetated area. Am I correct?
Correct. Or attach them to the, I'm not a security expert, but it seems to me there's a way to address the issue. I understood they've been there for a long time. But the issue about being able to have people address security concerns in a way that does not yield more structure in the protected area, in the natural area, I think is something we need, that property owners need to figure out in a way that's acceptable in a generally applicable way.
Okay. May I ask whether attaching them to the two walkways, one's on this end and one's down here at the other end, or so they're on the side?
That would seem to me to be a better, an improvement, but
okay.
Again, Mr. Rose is not a security expert, so
Okay.
I think he's trying to get to that point.
Nor am I, but I think they're willing to figure that out.
I have one question. Lisa, we did get this email on July 14th, 2022 from Michael D. Halpern and Christine Grant Halpern. Have you read it?
I've read what's in the file today. There's an email and there's copies, I think, of a decision from, was it back in the 90s, I believe. It concerns the patio in protected wetlands area. And some wires, and I believe it's telephone wires and electrical wires. I don't know if those are still present there today. And I don't know that anyone's gone out and done a survey to see whether those particular offensive structures are still there and still posing an offense. So yes, that's my answer is yes, I've looked at that.
Okay. And do you want some time do we need to comment on this, or we're good with this, or?
I think we should just verify, and I think that would have to be done in conjunction with the planner, maybe the building inspector, to take a look to make sure that whatever needed to be removed was removed, or if it's no longer a concern, it may not any longer be a concern. But also give the applicant maybe an opportunity to consider where to move these security lights and fit it in with whatever landscaping proposal he indicates has already been approved, but now it might be changed with the moving of the lights.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Bregman. I just wanted to.
Yes, may I speak to that? Because what I was talking about, I apologize if it wasn't clear, but this area right here, I can make that bigger, maybe, if I can figure out how to do that. There we go. Right here at this corner is something that's marked bin. It's also on the Re-Veg plan. That has telephone and an electric line in. I don't know whether they go back to 1998, but they may very well. My thought is, if you look at that decision, and Ms. Petrillo, and I'd be glad to discuss it with you at your convenience, but if you look at it, it emphasizes that the reason, or a major reason for that decision, was the twofold. One, there, the area which had the patio, which is now going to be revegetated, was further seaward than anything else along that strip. It was more so than where the gazebo is, or all the other swimming pools, etc., that we looked at earlier. And the other was that there were a lot of neighbors that were not happy with it. And wanted that. That's not true now, except the Halperns are concerned that it not reappear, and that's why revegetating here, I think, would prevent that. So we satisfied that. So again, the concept here is that Mr. Icahn could enjoy his property and sit on the lawn that's perfectly legal and put out a chair there. And if he could connect to the telephone, etc., it's not enabling him or anyone else to misuse the dune, which was what the concern was before. So one of the requests here is that that be allowed to stay there. It could also be moved a little, further north, but it's outside of the area of concern. And seems moving. You can't see it. It's sort of hidden in. It's already hidden in the vegetation. So I'm sorry.
Bill?
So the patio's already been removed?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. Patio's
Thank
long
you.
gone. What's there now was some grasses that were just allowed to dry out, but they will be, and there's also some, what's the word? Unwanted plantings like goldenrod and some other stuff that would all be replaced by, as I said, beach grass, bayberry, and beach plum.
Okay, is that it, Mr. Bregman?
And that's it, unless there are any more questions.
I think that, Lisa, you got to guide me on this. We should be looking into what the Halperns had sent, or, okay.
We'll just verify, and I can't do that looking at what's here right now. It looks like the patio may have been their major concern, that they didn't want people hanging out there, and the fact that the patio's been moved may address that. But you know, there was also reference to these wires and so on and so forth. So just to make sure that whatever was required to be complied with is still necessary to be complied with, and if it hasn't already, if it is necessary, that it is complied with.
Okay, thank you. We want to get this right. So,
Mr. Chairman, are there any callers?
I was just going there.
Thank you.
Ms. Are there any callers on the line?
There is one caller on the line. Let me put them through.
Okay, thank you.
Caller ending with 5290. You're on the air.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And please state your name, and Cam's going to swear you in. I don't know who we're speaking to, but.
Yes, my name is Michael Halpern. I'm one of the owners of the adjacent property, which you've been discussing this issue. And we sent a photo, I think, after the time of July, whatever, it's later, that shows what we're talking about currently. If I think you have it in the file.
Okay.
So I want to be clear what we're talking about in that place. And Billy Hayjack, I think, is very well aware of it. And unfortunately, he's not present. And you can see in the photo that it's not a lawn chair. It's an umbrella, several pieces of furniture, a table. There are lights, and now obviously there's communication outlets. It's everything that the zoning board of appeals said to remove in 1997. It's the same thing that the New York Supreme Court said to remove in 1999 or 98, and it's the same thing that the appellate court of the state of New York said it's without merit, the case. Our lives have gone on, and the patio may have been removed, but it's clearly used as that type of area. We've not been on the property, so I really can't say. But it continues. So you can see in the photo what's there. And we appreciate that this revegetation plan seems to meet most of our objection, and we appreciate the icons to follow through on that. But the lighting and the communication, everything is still there. I don't think we have any issue with Mr. Icon wanting to communicate with the world, if you follow me. But whether that area is recreated like that, just simply a few feet away, yeah, I'd say we have a problem with it.
Okay, thank you. Is that it, Mr. Halpern?
Could I say just two sentences? I'm sorry.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
sir. Yeah.
Bregman, go ahead.
Okay, I'm glad to hear Mr. Halpern's concerns. Again, that photograph, which you've all seen, shows the area that's going to be revegetated. It was the area where the patio was. That was removed long ago. It was, and being candid, it was used, and chairs were put there. And that photo shows, because I was there myself just yesterday, and those same pieces of furniture are nearby. They show it's an aluminum lounge chair, and that black thing is a chair, again, an aluminum chair with a cover over it. The umbrella is standing on the lawn. It's not in the ground. It's just, has a heavy base that keeps it there, but it can be moved. So again, the concept here, and I'm happy to have Mr. Halpern participate in the design here, but the concept here is that this would all be beach grass and beach plum, and it would effectively prevent looking into that area, right, or using that area for anything but natural vegetation supporting the dune. And any sitting and looking at the world would be on the lawn where is perfectly appropriate, and putting up a lounge chair or a regular chair. So the concept here is not to figure out some way to get around this, but to do the re-veg plan in a way that satisfies or that responds to the Halpern's concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Bregman. Any other callers on the line?
There are no other callers.
Okay, so we're going to keep this open so our council can talk to the village planner and I assume the building inspector, just to discuss this letter that the Halperns has sent in. And any other questions from the board members?
I just have a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
It's not a question. I think I've heard, I've listened, I understand the case being presented. I do not think that there is a compelling rationale for the maintenance of the gazebo and its location. I think it's highly visible. I know it's highly visible from the beach. I don't think the materials that we've been presented demonstrate that, but having walked by this numerous times now, just to make sure I'm not imagining it, I think that the presence of the fence is much more egregious than the adjoining properties, or most of the adjoining properties. That the gazebo is not compliant. I think the original rationale for it, which I heard and understood, I think is no longer the case. I think there are some aspects of this application that are fine. I think there should be a way to figure out how to deal with the security lighting and the light, but there are other issues that I think remain deeply problematic.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rose. So, Mr. Bregman, and we're going to keep this hearing open till next month on the 14th of October, I believe the date is, and we'll reconvene.
Yeah, I'm going to be out of the country on the 14th, but let me communicate with Pam about the scheduling, if I may.
Yes. Okay. Yes, sir.
And if it's okay with and necessary with the board, if we could put it into November, because I don't think I can make it on the 14th.
That's fine. Just reach out to Pam and let her know what your schedule is. Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay. Pam, can we move on to the next hearing, please?
Sure. Application of Maximus LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301737 for variances from Chapter 278 zoning and a wetlands permit in accordance with Chapter 163 freshwater wetlands to raise the existing residence and construct a new single-family residence. Applicant requests a wetlands permit in accordance with sections 163.3 and 163.7 and a 91-foot variance from section 278.3A8 to temporarily clear vegetation 34 feet from wetlands where no clearing is permitted within 125 feet of wetlands. Applicant requests a wetlands permit in accordance with sections 163.3 and 163.7 and variances of 86.3 feet, 79 feet, and 79 feet from section 278.3A8 to construct a residence with roof overhang 63.7 feet and 71 feet from wetlands, and to construct patios 71 feet from wetlands where the required wetland setback is 150 feet and any other relief necessary. The subject property is 97,110 square feet in area and is located at 54 Georgia Close Road in Residence District R160. The property fronts on the Seabury Creek section of Georgia Pond and is located in FEMA flood zone AE10. This project is classified as a type 2 action in accordance with SECRA.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Ackerman.
Good morning, Jim. Am I correct? There are only 3 members of the board?
You are, sir. You are.
I know you have a heavy schedule, behind me. I'd like to just give you a very brief overview, and I'll save my recitation of grounds at the end if it's necessary. That's okay. This proposed new house is going to be on the existing foundation footprint. We're going to be reducing coverage from 2183 to 1935 square feet. We're going to be reducing GFA from 1700 to 1200 square feet. We're going to be reducing height from 28 feet to 13 feet because we're eliminating a second story. We're going to make it FEMA compliant by eliminating the basement, filling in the basement. This is a unique construction protocol which we've submitted, which is going to minimize disturbance. This construction is not going to take months. It's going to take weeks of putting this house together on this property. A very unique and creative construction protocol based upon a very unique and creative plan by the architect, John Winberry, who's on board with us here. And in addition, we're going to be, of course, removing the existing sanitary system that's within the wetlands, which should be very positive for Georgia Pond. And those of us who live on the pond will be upgrading a new sanitary system, which is out of wetlands jurisdiction. So we're going to be requiring a house variance for 63.7 feet because of the roof overhang, and a special permit for the project fence, which is necessary on a temporary basis while we do the construction. We're available for any questions you have concerning this application. And if you wish, I can go through the grounds at some point.
I think just let's see if the board members have any questions.
I just have a question, Mr. Ackerman. So with the overhang, there's going to be no deck off the back. So you're going to step out onto what? Is it? It just seems like, with the overhang, you're not going to get lawn to grow back there or anything to grow back there.
Can I speak to that?
Sure, Linda, go on.
Yeah, the landscaping plan calls for, I think, Pennsylvania sedge, which is a native plant. It's low growing. It's a grass-like plant, and it does allow for some traffic. I don't know if you were able to hear me, but the answer is
No, I was able to hear you. So, and it can grow in the shade like that with the
yes, it can. Yes, it's a sedge that you'll see if you look in your woodlands. You'll see it growing in in situations where, as long as it's not completely dark, it'll grow.
So there's no intent to come back later for a patio or a deck or anything of that nature.
I'm sorry. The quality of the audio is not wonderful. Could you just say that again?
Sure. I'm sorry. I said, so there's no intent to come back at a later date for a patio or some sort of a deck in that area. Is that correct?
No, there is not.
Okay. Thank you, Linda.
Okay.
I don't have any questions on this application. Mr. Rose, do you have any?
All right, good.
I think we just want to review the material you gave us on September 8th yesterday, Mr. Ackerman.
I understand.
I don't.
Billy's been very cooperative, and we just wanted to be sure we had all our housekeeping in order. There seemed to be some question on some of there's so many documents. There's the survey, there's the site plan, there's the architectural plans, there's the Drew Bennett's plan. We wanted to be sure everything was consistent. So we met with Billy and we met with council, with the board. I think everything is in order. So.
Okay, just give us, like I said, we got it yesterday. We need the real plans for Village Hall. We've got nothing but, printed copies here off our printer. So I don't think any board members have any issues at this time, but please, we're just going to keep this open, and then I don't think there's any problems here at this point.
All right, thank you very much.
Review the material. Thank you. Okay, we're going to keep the hearing open. Pam?
Next one.
Yes, please.
Application of Edward and Margot J. Levy, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-751.13 for an area variance from Chapter 278 zoning to construct additions to an existing residence. A 598 square foot gross floor area variance is requested from Section 278-3813 to construct additions and permit a residence to contain 5,956 square feet of gross floor area, where the maximum permitted gross floor area is 5,358 square feet. The existing residence contains 4,699 square feet of gross floor area and any other relief necessary. The subject property is 43,584 square feet in area and is located at 321 Georgia Road in Residence District R80. This project is classified as a Type 2 action in accordance with SECRA.
And is the applicant present? Oh, morning, John.
Hi, John Tarver for the applicant. Can you hear me okay?
We can, thank you.
Great. So this is an application for the Levys. They have lived on the property for approximately 25 years. They actually bought it from Bob Bertini, I guess, who originally built it for himself. They own the house, and if you've been there, it appears to be a large 2-acre lot. That's because there's actually a vacant buildable parcel between them and the road. So as you come up the driveway on your right-hand side, that's all a single and separate parcel. And then you get to their existing house. Having raised their kids in it and lived there for 25 years, their needs have changed somewhat, and they're just looking for a way to reconfigure the house to better suit their current needs. Their current needs being that while frequently it's just them, at certain times during the year they have grandkids and people who and the house can be full. So this would do two things. One is it provides them additional small bedroom upstairs, and it provides them a true master bedroom themselves to have some quiet time. Again, it's the first floor is it's all second floor additions. It is a relatively large variance, more than 10% of the allowable gross floor area. Two things going for us are that the existing house is only 28 feet high, where if they were to build new, they could be 34 feet high. And obviously for expense reasons, they didn't want to build new. But if they were forced to build new on this property, gross floor area laws are meant to limit bulk. And at 28 feet high, the house is definitely not bulky. I did reach out to the neighbor who would most closely be affected by this. We exchanged some emails. I know him. We actually never, it's probably my fault. I never confirmed whether he was for or against it, but he certainly has not reached out to me with any objections. The house is pretty much not visible from the street. And in order to try to differentiate this and make this so there'd be no precedent, I did come up with something which I hope pleases the board, which is that since we're asking to add gross floor area to the existing house, we thought we could restrict the vacant lot that same amount of gross floor area. So the vacant lot, which is the one you would actually see, and again, gross floor area laws are mostly to control bulk and aesthetics. If the current owner were to build in that vacant lot, they would agree to limit a house in that lot by the exact same amount of square footage that we're asking for this house. The truth is they don't really intend to build on that lot, so it's a pretty easy offer on their part. The only concern was if and when they or their family sells both parcels, they would like that restriction to go away. The thought being that this house, unfortunately, at some point in the future, will be torn down, and they'd like both properties to go back to whatever their permitted gross floor area would be. But I do think that overall, we have crafted a pretty good application in that by agreeing to reduce the allowable gross floor area in the front lot, and by the fact that even the proposed additions on the second floor are still keeping to that 20-foot high ridge line where you could have 34 feet.
Thank you. Board members, or we'd like to hear maybe from the public first. Is anybody on the line calling?
No callers on the line.
Thank you. Board members?
So I just have a question in terms of the proposed restriction, which says so that what I think I understand makes sense, but in the event that one lot gets sold and the other lot doesn't get sold, what happens?
It would still be restricted. We considered that. We thought the board would be worried for that would be an ulterior motive, but if either lot gets sold by itself, then the restriction would stay in place.
I guess my reaction, Mr. Chairman, is that I think the solution, given that they're two separate properties, this is a variance being requested in the context of the two separate properties being treated as the whole. But if ever they were to go back, that without restriction in terms of how, I just don't want us to get whipsawed theoretically in the future for precedential purposes. But the intent sounds like it's reasonable to me.
Thank you. And Philip, you gotta mute yourself.
So I have a question, and this might be Lisa or John. So if the variance were to be granted with the covenant, then the people who tear down the Levy's existing house, presumably, and build a new house, they would be entitled to keep that additional 598 feet above what the code is, or what the code allows for?
That sounds like what's being proposed.
No, I'm sorry, I misled you. I believe the way that, years ago, decades ago, when zoning board decisions were written, especially in the village, they often went with the property and people would come back to you, and you've seen people come back to you and say, oh no, we have a variance, we're allowed 500, we're going to rebuild a brand new house here and have an extra 500 something square feet. I think modern zoning board decisions are written very specifically to an approved set of plans, and that would not be the case. And of course, you could write your decision that way. So the intent is, if anybody tears this house down, they have to comply with zoning on the property. That's the intent. And I think the modern ZBA decisions are written specifically for the proposed structure, but I'm sure we can work it out to make it more clear.
Just following up on Phil's question, I think I share the concern that Phil is expressing, that I understand Phil to be expressing. This is one that, Lisa, we're going to throw it to you to figure out if the intent is achievable without creating a precedent that turns around and then says, no, you've already granted it. There's not an issue. There's not a problem. So, because it goes to looking at Phil, if I'm getting it right, what you're saying, if it's treated as one large lot and this is the total amount of floor area that's permitted, that's one thing. But to create a sort of whipsaw issue is what we do not want to see happen.
Right. So John, just let me paraphrase and see if I get it right. So the vacant lot would be restricted by the 598. If the vacant lot sells by itself, it's still restricted by the 598. Is that part correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then this goes to Lisa and John. If somebody tears down the house, we can write the decision. I guess it's more for Lisa. I understand what John's saying. Can we write the decision that they don't get the benefit of an additional 598 square feet above what the code allows.
I'd have to look into that. It's, variances, when they're granted, they run with the land. So if there's a special covenant that you want to impose on this particular grant, I would have to look into that.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Why don't we leave this with Lisa? Sorry, Lisa, this is too
No,
long.
it's fine.
We'll leave this with Lisa, and I think I'm in agreement. I'm in total agreement with Joe and Philip, and I think I understand what John is saying here. So why don't you two see if you can work it out, and then we'll reconvene next meeting.
That sounds good.
Is that okay with the board?
Works for me.
Yeah. And then we just have to figure out where to file that so it goes, so everybody's on notice,
Understand? Okay.
and subsequent purchasers. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
John. Pam, the last application of the day.
Application of Andrew and Alyssa Klein, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-8223 for area variances from Chapter 278 zoning to construct a patio and pergola, walkways, and an AC condenser unit. A 622 square foot variance is requested from Section 278-3A9A to permit 5,479 square feet of coverage, where the maximum permitted coverage is 4,857 square feet. A 10-foot variance is requested from Section 278-3A5B to install an AC condenser unit 5 feet from a side yard lot line where the required side yard setback is 15 feet. 2 variances of 7.4 feet each are required from Section 278-3A5B to construct a patio and pergola, both to be located 7.6 feet from a rear yard lot line where the required setbacks are 15 feet and any other relief necessary. The subject property is 21,786 square feet in area and is located at 177 Main Street and Residence District R80. The property is located in the Main Street Historic District and requires approval of the Design Review Board. This project is classified as a Type 2 action in accordance with SEQA.
Good morning. Is the applicant present?
Morning.
Good morning. Can you?
Please swear you in. Please raise your right hand and state your name and address for the record.
Joshua Key, 195 Plymouth Street, Brooklyn, New York.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Josh.
The owners have requested, are interested in constructing a terrace and pergola as shown in front of an existing garage structure. The structure is existing and unfortunately is hard up against 2 of the property lines. They also would like to condition the garage. And so the condenser is located as shown in the site plan to the southeast of the garage. It's the one location where it would not be in front of either a garage door or an existing window into the garage. And we have provided a screen fence around the condenser so that it is not visible from any of the sides or the adjacent property to the west. The terrace would be constructed such that it does not obstruct vehicles from entering or exiting the garage, and the terrace would be constructed such that it could accommodate those loads. We are also proposing a path of stones that connect this terrace, to some existing terraces that are off the back of the house. The sort of idea behind this application is that the existing garage is a very elegant structure. It's quite beautiful, actually. It will serve as a nice backdrop for this terraced area.
Just to, I visited the property, and there's no driveway to the current existing building.
That is
And you show on the survey shows proposed gravel walk. And then on your plans, it shows proposed gravel driveway. Is it a walk or?
As part of this, as a part of the work, we would include a gravel driveway connecting the current parking area to the garage. There was one at one point. At some point, it was removed, but we understand that it would need to be put back.
Okay. Board members?
So there are some land use questions here that I think are very real. It's also I have a procedural question. Sorry, Lisa.
Lisa Day.
I'll see if I can answer.
No, well, I just think so. So this is in the historic district, and I guess what came up in the context of the, I guess our previous Guildhall hearing, I think the board should be in the practice of requesting comment in regard to the historic preservation aspects. I think we should refer the question to the matter to the Village Preservation Committee to see if they have comment regarding not the land use issues, which are the purview of the ZBA, but the historic preservation, if there's any comment and that they have regarding the preservation matters. So I think I think that it's appropriate when there's an application in the historically protected property to have at least a comment from the Village Preservation Committee in terms of whether or not there are any historic preservation issues related to the application.
Now, we do have an application for a certificate of appropriateness before the Design Review Board currently.
Right,
so you want this other committee to look at it?
I think my understanding is I realized there was a shift in terms of village procedure vis-a-vis the in terms of how applications were treated, because we no longer have the village preservation consultant who presumably, had there been, would have issued a report, presumably saying, hypothetically, either it does or it doesn't, or it would under these conditions. In this case, we need somebody to tell us, since we're not opining as on the preservation component ourselves, and we do, when we look at things, have to take that into account, albeit we're not the certificate of appropriateness issue, which is the DRB. My expectation is that there would not be on this application from their perspective, leaving the land use issues aside, which are ours, but we should hear it. We should be in the habit of knowing that in advance of our actions. So
So how do we, and Lisa or Pam, how do we engage the historical committee?
Is there an application? I'm not familiar with their internal procedures. Is there any kind of application that the applicant can submit to have them review the project and opine on the, I don't know.
Sorry to be a process speak. I think I can jump in on this. I hope, but I obviously defer to the expert authorities. But my reading is that, and then it comes up again. I just want to be in the habitual precedent, so it's not sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't do it, based on whether we hold our fingers up in the air and figure out whether there's an issue or not. Is that the ZBA, the Preservation Committee has the role of responding to requests from either the ZBA or the DRB.
Okay.
So this would, I propose that we request to the Preservation Committee to comment to us whether they had issues regarding the historic component. We're not asking them to opine on the land use issues on the preservation.
Just the historic issues. I have no issues with that. Phil?
No, I think I agree with Mr. Rose. I think that's something we should do. And I have a question for the architect, and maybe he can speak on the applicants. that you and your clients are aware that the prior determination by the ZBA does not allow for the garage to be used as habitable space in any way, shape, or form. Is that understood? Is
That
both
is
the architect and the client? That is
Yes.
understood. Okay.
And no plumbing. I believe the
Yes.
I sat on that application originally,
Yes.
so. And the neighbors were, I think, on board to keep it a garage. So I think we'll keep this hearing open till we get the East Hampton Village Historic Committee to review this. So is there anybody on the line who'd like to speak about this?
There are no callers on the line.
Okay, so I guess that's all the business for today. Motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Second? Philip, second?
Yep.
All right, all in favor?
Yeah, second.
Aye.
Okay, thank
Aye.
you all. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye.